Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Marie Contini. If you're new here, then welcome. If you're not, welcome back. And I hope you guys enjoy this video. So this is gonna be the first video to a series of videos. And these videos are gonna be sit-down videos where I talk to you guys about law school or like my college experience and what I am doing to become an individual in healthcare law, be it an attorney or work in policy. That is my end goal, and so I'm gonna just explain to you guys my experience, and this video is gonna focus on my law school and college experience in the Netherlands and why I chose to go to the Netherlands. And I hope you guys enjoy and this is informative for you guys. So the first thing I'm going to get into is the way the academic system is set up there in the academic year and kind of the main pros and cons of it and how it's different from the United States, for example. But first things first, and I think the biggest con is the fact that you have very little vacation time when you're in college, just because it is 3 years, so it is quite intense, and you are studying most, and if not all that time. So in my experience, I only had 2 weeks off during Christmas time, and that was also because I chose to do that and fulfill certain credit requirements during January. However, most cases are you do have 2 weeks off unless you're maybe in your 3rd year or something and you don't need to take classes then. It also depends if you have a resit. So the way the system is set up there is you have 2 semesters, but within that semester you have you have quarters. I'm not sure if you can call it a quarter system since it is 6 study periods, like exam periods. That's how we call it, quarters. We call them periods. So you have 6 periods. So the way this is set up, and I'm going to try to explain it with how I experienced it, I would always start school on September 1st. And then that means you have September and October with at least 2 classes that you're taking. It's either 2 or 3 at the time, but usually it's 2 because that's the minimum credit requirement for every single period. However, you can do 3. There were times I was doing 3, or you can do 4 if you really want to. So you have those 2 classes, and that means at the end of those 2 months, you have exams for those classes. And for me, since I did law school, and the way my law school was set up is really those exams determined whether you passed or failed that course, because it was the only thing that was graded unless you did have some kind of essay or assignment, but most classes weren't like that. So for me, usually it was that exam determined it, which is kind of scary. And at the beginning, to be honest, I hated the idea that I had exams every 2 months, because that meant you really couldn't slack off. You needed to stay focused 24/7. And if you did slack off for like a week, you fell behind. However, it kind of forces you to, like I said, consistently study. So by the end of it, honestly, I think the amount of classes I would take would be the same as a student here in the United States. I don't know, like I said, I haven't experienced it, but by the end of my first year, like semester, so half year from September to December, I had already taken like 5 or 6 classes. So yeah. Another big thing in the Netherlands is that in order for you to pass on and continue studying after your first year is you have to have met the credit requirement that is required of you from the university. So in your first year, you have to have X amount of credits in order to continue your studies. If you were falling behind, they do warn you. And if you do fail and not meet that requirement by the end of your first year, they ask you to leave. And actually, you can't, for the next academic year, you actually cannot apply for the same studies. You can't for several years afterwards. So that's another very different thing, scary, and it does make you think like, am I doing the right thing studying this? Do I really want to? Can I keep up with it? So yeah. Another big thing is that there are resits in the Netherlands. That's a big thing. I'm not sure if they have that in the United States or if it's so common. So basically you have the exam. So let's say I had an exam in my first 2 months where I failed one of them. I would have a chance to retake or resit that exam once more within the same academic year. Now, if you by any chance fail that exam, you do have to then retake the entire course, or you can request not to take the course. So you kind of have to redo the whole thing again and take the exam once more. So you do have more than one chance to retake an exam, and I believe that's probably because of how important it is, your grade in that exam, and to pass, you have to pass that exam. So the last difference, and I think I'm done with this, is the grading system there works on a scale from 0 to 10. So basically, and I think this is in all universities, in order for you to get a passing grade, you have to get at least a 5.5, which it's rounded up then to a 6. So if you get a 5.4, that gets rounded down to a 5, and that means you did not pass your exam. But then if you get a 5.5, that rounds up to a 6, and that means you passed. Now that I've kind of explained the academic system there, I don't know if there's maybe questions. If there are, you can ask them below and I can try and answer whatever. But now I'm gonna get into my personal experience and where I went to and my law school experience. I went to university at Maastricht University, which is located in the southernmost province of the Netherlands. It is the capital, and it is walking distance from Germany and Belgium, actually. So it is very central Europe and extremely international. And fun fact, it is where the European Union was founded. The Maastricht Treaty was the start of the idea of the European Union, and it was signed there. And I went to the law school there. It's the Faculty of Law of Maastricht University. And fun fact, Maastricht University was ranked in 2023 as the 23rd best law school in the world by the Times Higher Education. So I graduated high school in 2019 and moved all the way from Valencia, Spain to the Netherlands, to Maastricht University. And honestly, my college experience overall was very different in every single semester, and I think there's things that you learn along the way about what it's really like college and how different it is from high school or anything you've experienced before. The first thing I would have to say about my first semester is that it was difficult. It was a challenging time. I was very sad because of personal things I was going through at the time, but mainly I was extremely homesick. I miss Spain, obviously where my parents live. Valencia, it's very warm and sunny most of the time. And the Netherlands is very different from that. Even though Maastricht tends to be warmer, not as gloomy and wet as the rest of the Netherlands, and it doesn't snow as much, which is nice. However, I still missed it. I missed the culture of living in Spain, and it was very difficult for me to adapt. I also didn't enjoy living alone. I didn't realize until I left home how much I loved living alone and how easy it was having your parents do everything and just you take it for granted. So that was very difficult for me. On the other hand, I have to say that I was extremely lucky when it came to making friends in college. And during my first semester, I made some incredible friends, some people who are my best friends to this day. During orientation week, which was such a fun time, and I think Maastricht University does a great job for new students. I made one of my closest friends on the first day of orientation. Her name is Sabrina, and I love her with all my heart. And we went through everything together those 3 years. Later that week, I also met Zena, who is another one of my best friends. And it was very random, and I don't know, I think it was meant to be. And then because of Zena, I also met Emma, and the four of us just experienced college together. We experienced everything together, and I owe them everything, and I would not have made it through my first semester of college without them. So yeah, but I have to say those were the two main sides of my first semester in college. And unfortunately, because I was sad most of the time, and it did affect my grades, and I did not perform as well as I hoped that semester, and that is something I regret. And to anyone who is starting college, all I have to say is you're not the only one who went through it, and don't do what I did. Don't let it affect your grades, because even though I was later able to improve them, I wish that I didn't let my feelings affect my academic performance. But yeah, there you go. So then after Christmas break, I came back to Maastricht, and bam, the pandemic hit. I swear, it's crazy. It's been 3 years, but the country was, I just remember sitting there studying with one of my best friends, and suddenly we're getting calls, texts, like all this stuff, like the world is ending, like get out of here. And sadly, I was happy because it meant I got to move back home with my parents, and I just miss them so much. But unfortunately, I did stay home because of the pandemic for almost a year, and that is one of my biggest regrets to this day, because there are so many things I could have experienced during that time that I didn't. So like I said, I lived at home during the pandemic, and this was from, I believe, March 2020 until, oh my gosh, like beginning of February of 2021. And during that time, because we were all at home, it kind of forced me to focus on my studies, and I adapted the way I was studying. And actually, because I forced myself to really sit down and see like the way these tests were made and everything, I learned how to study for them and to really focus in class and take detailed notes during class, and then go through them again afterwards and really focus what the teachers were saying, because what I realized is that what they were saying was the most important stuff and was most likely going to be on the exam. So if you do go to Maastricht University, I really recommend go to tutorials. That's how we call classes there. And it's the most important thing, because yes, something that's very like, I guess, stereotypical of law school, there's a lot of reading, like a lot of cases, a lot of memorizing, studying, practicing how to apply them. But if you listen to the teachers, you really will know what to do and ask so many questions. It doesn't matter. Just listen and take those notes and practice. So that is really something I implemented during my first semester of my second year of law school and during the pandemic. And it really, my grades went from barely passing to getting some of the best grades in the whole class. So yeah. Then in my second semester, my second year, I moved back to Maastricht, and I think that was the best decision I ever made. I was really nervous still about learning how to balance my social life and my studies, and also how to live alone. But for some reason, that second time when I moved there, I didn't suffer so much from homesickness, and I just threw myself into the friends I had made there and my studies. And it definitely wasn't what it normally is like there. Obviously, life for everyone was different. There was still kind of a quarantine, and COVID was weird, but honestly, I took some really interesting classes. Some of my most difficult classes were then, and I met a lot of interesting people. Since it is such an international city, I met people from all over the world and made incredible friends. I moved to a new place that was way nicer, and I had really great roommates, and I really enjoyed that. And yeah, the spring in the Netherlands is beautiful, and we were just outside all the time, and it was super sunny, and it is one of the most happiest times in my life, and I really enjoyed it. My third year of law school overall was incredible. I had an amazing time. I really threw myself into the culture there, the bikes, walking. Maastricht is such a small city, and even though there's no really like campus, it's still, the university is within the city, so basically the city is your campus, and there's students everywhere. There's too many students if you ask the people who are from there, and it's just incredible, and it was an amazing time, and I definitely loved my college experience. Overall, what I have to say is I loved my college experience, my law school experience. It was great. I was very happy in the city I was, since it wasn't too big, and it still felt like I was like living on campus, and you always run into someone you know, which is another great thing about the city. I just enjoyed the smaller classes and just everything. I really felt like I met a lot of wonderful and very interesting people from all over the world. More on a personal note, I think I really grew a lot and became a much more independent person and gained valuable skills that are definitely crucial for me living alone now, like how to balance work and studying and just a bunch of things, social, and also time for myself. I have to say that I would not be doing as great now if it wasn't for that. So yeah, I also am happy because when I went there, I discovered my passion and realized that criminal law was not for me. Surprisingly, it's not like how it is in the movies. It's much more difficult, and that I can't wait to get into healthcare. And like I said, I would do it all over again, and I just loved it. A wonderful 3 years of my life. And now on to the next. I think the next part of this series is going to be why I decided to work for a year at a law firm and how my experience has been there. And then I'll tell you guys what is next for this year. But yeah, if you're still watching, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was informative. Like I said, if there are any questions or anything that maybe I could advise you on, you can always DM me on Instagram or put in a comment below. If you're looking at going to school in the Netherlands or Maastricht, then feel free to ask. And that was my experience. Yeah. Bye guys. Love ya.